And we are live, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to episode 69 of the Sling'N podcast. I'm TJ.
You said 69. And I'm Kent.
God damn it. We didn't even make it 30 seconds into the show, Kent.
What?
Anyway, you know, I don't hate you. I'm just jealous that I didn't get there first. Anyway, so folks, we've got a great show for you tonight. Joining us tonight, first time in the hot seat, is Jordan Spradley. You might have seen him in previous episodes in the comments section in the Peanut Gallery. There he is with his lovely Princess Diana wave. So Jordan, one of the things, as you know, we like to ask all of our guests is to introduce themselves. So when you're behind the gun, when you're not behind the gun, tell the folks at home and those listening on the podcast players around the world, who the hell are you?
I guess the best way to start out when I'm not behind, I don't know. I work in television. I'll leave it at that just in case, because the place I work has a lot of people with very differing views than mine. You know, those people. Yeah, and when I'm not there and I actually have time to shoot and there's ammo available for me, yeah, I do a little bit of everything. I have a friend of mine that helped me become an NRA certified pistol instructor, and I help assist in his classes. I do a little bit of pistol competing here and there if it's in some of the rifle matches. And as much as Kent loves GSSF, do those from time to time. I've done a couple of those. Want to do a lot more, hopefully, if COVID brings ammo back.
Outstanding. Well, welcome to the show. We're happy to have you. It's surely going to be a great time. But yeah, Kent's all about that GSSF life.
He loves it.
He does.
He's so encouraging.
That's a great point. You do have a point. I may not be being very encouraging. That is true. That's true.
Oh, I forgot to mention, I also took 2 semesters at Hayes University. They teach you how to get dank meme tattoos. That's that's one of the courses. I can't give away too much more. You got to sign up to know anything else.
As much as we all love Cam around here, why does it, when you say it like Hayes University, it sounds like a rehab center?
Well, it's like you could look at it different ways. It's sort of like that, but there's like haze, like hazing. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of that happens there. So, it could have been Cheetah University. Some people, use that as a sort of a AKA, since for like a solid year, all we heard was cheetah, 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 cheetah. Hey, have you heard about my cheetah?
I'm beginning to think it's a euphemism.
Top it off with all of his stripper names.
No, wait a minute.
Now, No, there is credence to that kind of a major, sir. I'll have you know.
I don't know if I know of any of his stripper names. You got any examples for us?
Just go back through.
Remember, it was whatever the last episode that he was on. That it was just like a flood in the comments of that was my stripper name.
Yeah.
I'll start keeping logs.
Yeah,
but see, this is me encouraging the viewers. Hey, you need to go back and check out old episodes as well as the live and new ones.
That's exactly right.
Exactly. Look at that. See, that's how you know.
Stamps.com.
Yeah. Let's going to start shouting out random sponsors. I love it. All right. So with that, let's get into the meat and potatoes. That's my stage name. See what I did there? Right. So let's get into the meat and potatoes of tonight's discussion. So, Jordan, you are a long-range shooting aficionado, a connoisseur, if you will. Dare I say? So
a little bit.
Okay, go ahead and elaborate on that. Help the people at home understand exactly what it is you compete in. All
right. Well, to start out, when Kent asked me to come on, I was like, well, why do you want me on? Like, I'm the type, even when I do well, in my head, I still go, you suck. Everybody else is way worse than you today. That's why you did okay. And I know at some point I got to get over that. But yeah, I started a little over 2 years ago into the long range stuff. I ended up meeting Ash Hess. I took a class with him, and then the guy who had brought Ash in to take the class, I he's the one that got me into pistol shooting and training, self-defense, took a CCW class, all that mumbo jumbo, made me an NRA instructor.
Who is that, if you don't mind me asking?
Oh, sorry. That would help too. His name's Mike McGowan, and he owns Veritas Training Academy down here in Sarasota.
Okay.
So I do have done a ton of stuff with him. Obviously, COVID, it kind of took a lot out. He has a full-time other job at a range where he's a lead instructor, and so our classes kind of slowed down just because of everybody else's ammo situation. So he went to doing just a ton more private. And when the CCW classes went from like, oh, there's 10 people here on a Saturday to like 5 nights a week, 30 people in every single class, that was taken up most of the time. But so I assistant instruct with him on a lot of classes. And with my full-time job being what it is, I was like, hey, you like video, right? Yeah. Why don't we could work something out? So we kind of do a little bit of bartering with video for free classes. And then kind of boosted my confidence there to actually start competing. But then we had a rifle class come up, and he's like, this is the class he's like, if there's any to come to, it's this one. It's the guy who actually wrote the Army's book on shooting rifle and carbine. I was like, well, that sounds like the guy's class you need to take. If he's the one that wrote the book, I always wanted to be able to say that, like, oh, this guy, he wrote the book on it. So anyway, met him. We kind of became friends, and he was starting up Quantified Performance at that time and was going to start doing matches and whatnot. And I was like, hey, you need video, right? He's like, yeah. So that sort of is how our relationship started. And so I shoot pretty much all the video for all the matches, help him put together promos and, just different media and whatnot for that. And it's definitely steadily growing. It's gotten to the point. I even had it written down so I remembered.
The book, TC 3-22.9. This is available. You can go Google up TC 3-22.9 if you're not in the Army and print you a copy. It'll come out about like this. Ask me how I know.
So
exactly.
For those not watching on video, Kent is holding up 2 1-inch 3-ring binders.
Yeah. When he says my man wrote the book, Ash, no shit, wrote the book. Anywho.
And it doesn't hurt that Ash is actually a really good dude. So, yeah, and that was his big thing that, like, I sort of appreciated too, is for as many, like, hardcore competitors that come to this, there always seems to be at least 25 to even 30 or 40% like people who've never shot a rifle competition.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And with how it sort of broke down into the why am I brain farting? The different categories that you shoot in.
Divisions.
Yes.
We're a house divided. Divisions. So like there's general purpose, which is kind of just like your shit hits the fan gun. It's like they do it off of barrel length and magnification of your optic. So 18 inches up to 8 power, or I think it's up to 10 power now because of the 1 to 10. So it's like there's a ton of guys that just shoot 5.56. I switched up the last match and shot 6.5 Grendel, which I enjoyed, and I did a lot better than I did before. And then there's the whole like race gun / competition gun, all the crazy big 6mm every caliber that like you don't even have to hold at 5,000 yards because it goes so fast and shoots so flat.
Cheetah.
Pretty much. But I will be shooting the Cheetah weekend after next. So I'll either be singing Cam's praises or maybe having to go back to Hayes University and learn what I did wrong.
Yeah. Well, competition ain't easy.
Nope.
Could have nothing to do with the rifle or the shooter. It could just be one of them like, God damn, this wasn't easy.
Yeah. And that's what this one is actually the first time. It's a 2-day match. So before we would shoot one day, 8 stages. This one's 8 stages over 2 days. So I don't know. We'll see. That'll be a first for me.
Yeah,
But,
you think you know what you're doing until that you hear that shooter ready, stand by, beep, and then wipe. Like your brain completely degausses and you forget your name and probably pee your pants.
pretty much. It's definitely one of the things, like, over time, the more I've went through like different competitions, it's like you always make it out so much worse in your head than how it actually ends up.
Yeah.
But I will say every single quantified match I've been to, the first stage I've had to shoot during the day has always been the longest of the day. So it's like you got 3 shots to hit at 1,000. Like every single one, I'm like, why do I have to start this every single time? Like I've been in different number squads and it's always ended up. So I'm like, well, at least it can only go better from here out.
Yeah. So help me understand this. Sorry, Kent, but help me understand this. Help the folks at home understand this too. So you're shooting out to 1,000, right?
Yes.
Just typically, right? That's what you would consider a long stage. Just so we can kind of have a proper frame of reference when we talk about long stages and short stages.
Yeah.
What is a short stage by comparison?
So to sort of go into, I guess I should have kept going with that. How the divisions are broken up is sort of like you got shit hits the fan gun, that probably you can shoot really good out to 600 or 700 before stuff starts getting crazy and, doing weird stuff after transonic. Well, the match is built in the same way, and it's actually worked out so good that he can show you the scores from all the matches, and it's around like 35% of people did really well on this bit of stages, and then the next division did really good on these, and then this division did really good on these. So even how he builds all the stages, some your advantage shooting like a small frame 5.56, because there may be 10 targets at 150, maybe 200 yards. So you've got a smaller, lighter, way less recoil gun, so you can, fly through it, where the guys with the 25-pound 6mm Creedmoor guns, it's a little bit more work to like swing those things around and do what you have to do. I'd say most of the matches, if you averaged out the distance of targets, 400 to 600.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Like the 1,000 round or 1,000 yard stuff is usually like one stage,
right?
But it averages anywhere like that. In previous, there's been stuff at 100. It's just fast, sort of burn it down, go as quick as you can, or they throw like a little wrench in there just to mess you up. This last match, one of the gentlemen who competes, Russell Norman, he lost one of his arms, and he shoots every match one-handed. So he like dedicated a stage to him. It was you guys probably know like the Kyle Lamb's Chaos Drill.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a stage every time, but it's, instead of it being 10, 15, 20 yards, it's like maybe 2 MOA targets, but they're at 200, 250 yards. So you had to shoot off of a barrel one-handed. And I think they were all right at like 200. And it was surprising. Like I thought like, oh yeah, I'll smoke this. Like my times on all those have been, the 40, 50 seconds, which I thought was fast, but it wasn't that fast. I ran out of time. Like it's so weird, and God forbid you have a malfunction or guys actually shot through their whole mag. And if you touched the gun with your support hand, it was automatic like stage DQ. So you got all the misses plus all the penalty time. It was the full time plus all the penalties. So like to your overall score, it was something like 5 or 6 minutes got added onto your whole, which like
Yeah, you might as well just pack it up and you're there.
Like at that point,
you are there for fun. You are not visiting the prize table. I can tell you that much. Now,
well, and that's the good point. The good thing with Quantified, like other than COVID, kind of put a little bit of hampering, but everybody I've talked to that does a buttload of competition, there's not prize tables usually like his. Like even the person in last place at least goes home with like 25, 30, 40, 50 bucks worth of either hats or some small part or it's worth it.
Yeah, but you know what? You brought up an excellent point, though. So I think one of the questions that I got, so I've got more of a three-gun competition background. You often get those questions like, well, why do you do this? Like, why do you compete? Of course, there's the common answers like, oh, I shoot for, proficiency, or I shoot, it's a game to me. I want to just win. I'm a competitive person. I like shooting. It seems like a natural fit. I'll tell you what, if you don't do it for any other reason, it's to smoke test your equipment, right?
Oh,
At what point is it going to fail, right? When you try to shoot that gun one-handed or go, what's it like to burn through that whole mag? And there is a quote unquote pain penalty in the form of time, an egregious amount of time added to your score, right? To change that mag with that support hand, right? Working through those processes and adding the timer and the pressures of competition do a great job at simulating at least a fraction of the stressors that you might experience in a oh crap situation, right? Obviously, it's not going to be a direct replication of the situation, but it's better than going to the range with your buddies and it turns out, it turns into a Nerf gun fest, right? Where nobody really cares. Obviously, everyone's being safe, but nobody really cares how they're scoring or if they whip for a shot. Oh, well, whatever. Everybody makes fun of them and that's it, right? There's no pressure to perform and meet the demand and the expectations of the current situation. So
I'm just going through Quantified Performance's match listings on Practice Score right now, and I was like, man, maybe I'll do that weekend in the arena, and I just realized I'm match directing a pistol match that same weekend.
I equate it like, I know we were poking fun or whatever the GSSF, but I feel like for it to be even like now become like a bigger match with a ton more people, it's still like, for me, was a really good starting off point.
Mm-hmm.
And like you were saying, what you enjoyed about, or like, why do you go? I would say like 50% of me wanting to go now is just the people. Like half of my friends now I've met, like Cam, like everybody I've met through Quantified Performance in the matches.
I like how he was about to list all his friends and he stopped at Cam because he's like, fuck, I only have one. Now you have three. Now you have TJ and
Yay.
Yeah, see, there's plenty of love to go around, man. Everyone needs
personality.
Everyone needs ginger in their life.
You guys know Ashton?
Ashton John. Yep.
Yep. Okay, so that makes four. That's four friends.
Yeah, he's good people. He when I made it out to South Carolina to do the DMR match that Cam put on. In January 2020. We made it out there. Ash was out there with Cam and I. Cam and I both camped out on the range, and man, stayed up late, drinking, telling stories. It was a good time, man. It really was. There's a lot of good dudes, and I'll tell you what. That's one of the things. Kent, I think I speak for you on this too. That's one of the things that has made. It's what drew Kent and I ultimately together. That's how we became friends, was because of the industry, but also just the other people. Right? You can get bored. It is really easy to get bored talking about just guns all the time, right? But it's through these commonalities, like an interest in firearms and the shooting sports and self-defense and stuff like that, that starts the conversation, right? It's the commerce of relationships. We have this one thing that we have in common. What else do we have in common? You start listening to each other, life stories, whatever have you. It's a great time. And generally speaking, and I know I've said it on the podcast before, I know Kent said it on the podcast before, but with the exception of a few knuckleheads, the Second Amendment community is probably one of the most welcoming and tolerant communities on the planet.
I agree.
That's probably because we know we're all surrounded by guns, but
that definitely helps. No, it definitely, and that's, I would say, as much as I love like all the competition stuff, like it definitely, the more I started learning and learning what I didn't know, I've always really enjoyed teaching. And since I got, I guess you could say, the license to be able to do CCW classes and whatnot, like I've really enjoyed, I haven't done a ton, but you know, in seeing how other people teach, and that's what's cool about them, the caliber of guys you guys have on here. It's like, it's worth the fee you charge just like for some of the information you get from these guys, which is like you have to buy one t-shirt every month to be able to watch the podcast for free. That's what I was told anyway.
Exactly. Perfect. Leave it just like that. That's fine. So let me let's talk about this for a little bit. So you're AIing for some CCW classes for Veritas.
Well, yeah, we do. Like I help Mike with his CCW stuff. He's had me teach his class a couple times when he's had stuff come up, but we've done like a ton of different, from just like super basic self-defense classes to more advanced stuff. Well, it sucks. There was a class, literally the Quantified Performance Weekend, 2 weekends from now. He has a guy that he's been friends with for a long ass time. His name's Shannon Riggs. He's like this long time. I think he was early on in the UFC and like done all sorts of different fighting all over the world. But they're doing sort of self-defense, hand-to-hand, and firearm classes as well. So,
but the stuff that you've done predominantly CCW stuff when you've taught
by myself for the most part, yes, and just like super basic stuff. Like, so
now welcome to my universe, my friend.
Oh yeah, well, and this was one of the things I had written down to talk about was early on in being friends with Mike. He told me he started out that he only trained women. And I was like, always was kind of a little whatever. Okay. Then when I started sitting through some of the classes, I was like, yeah, after I ran my first couple, I was like, oh, now I understand why. Because they listen and do what you tell them to do.
Wait,
unlike,
did he just say women listen and do it? They tell them, we got to get different women, TJ. Ours don't listen very good.
I didn't say that was my wife.
Classes. For legal reasons, that was a joke.
Yeah. So what I want to talk to you about, and I'm sure you've experienced something similar, which is the diversity of the people who are coming to the shooting sports as new people, right?
Yeah, especially over the past year.
And from somebody who does this as pretty much a full-time living, day in and day out, dude.
I wish.
We are, well, I'm going to tell you right now, man, we are the entree into these people's future in the Second Amendment. Whatever that shit is that you're saying in that room on that day with those guns and those people, that will be their beginning experience. Much like, imagine if you and I were to go to a racetrack and like we're going to be like, you know what? We're going to race some cars. We're going to get into being good car racers. You know, if those guys treated us poorly, or if we didn't enjoy our experience, or if we didn't feel like we learned, or if we didn't see a value in it, whatever that may be, those 2 or 3 dudes who we would have an experience with on that Saturday or Sunday or both days, that'd be maybe our whole experience in racing and driving cars. You're at a barrier to entry. You're at a point where it's yours and all of our responsibility to be a really good ambassador for the shooting sports and the shooting community. And as much as you want to joke about being the CCW instructor guy and the NRA guy and the ha-has, that shit is where we're going to make changes.
Oh, 100%. No,
So,
that's what I was getting ready.
Don't shy away from it, and don't be like I can do self-deprecating humor all day. I'm the king of it, but what you're doing is severely important. And
that's like one of my, I would say, become like one of my favorite things about that is having somebody who I can tell is either super inexperienced. And like one of the first classes I did on my own, I had these 3 ladies in there, never shot a gun. I did this at so I'm in Sarasota. There's a place in St. Pete. It's about an hour away. And it was one of these weird, like a friend of a friend of a friend, like suggested me to go teach because this guy's like 5 or 6 instructors that normally taught. They all couldn't do it. And it was like this weird, like me talking to like 2 guys I don't even know. And they're talking about who the owner is. Anyway, go do the class, this guy's place. These 3 ladies come in. And, I kind of start intro, ask everybody a few questions. Do you have a gun? What do you plan to get? Why are you here? What? And then I was like, oh, you guys have a gun? They're like, no. What are you planning on getting? Well, we're not planning to get one. It's like, okay. So why are you in the class? And they're like, well, we just wanted to come to, learn a little bit more about guns, safety, kind of the whole thing. And what was funny, because obviously I was new to this place too. A guy had a huge like Trump flag, like kind of in the corner. And I saw them when they came in, we're all like giggling, pointing like, oh, we got to get a picture in front of this. Like total, like, I was like, oh God, what am I in for here? And I was able to kind of flip them because when I told them, I was like, went over towards the end of class, like, okay, here's what we're going to go out on the range. You're going to, shoot. The guy gave him like 20 rounds to shoot, which I was like, during COVID ammo stuff, I was like, man, he's like, yeah, it used to be like 30 or 40. I was like, I'd pay that just to come shoot today. But they were like, we have to shoot to pass the class. I was like, yeah. And they're like, there's no other way to get around. Like they were like dead set, didn't want to do it. And I told them when they got all whatever, I said, I will almost bet you your class. I said, I'll tell you what, I'll bet you your class fee that you'll shoot better than everybody else in here. And she's like, no. She shot all 20 rounds and it was like one hole this big. But the guy who was former law enforcement had this is one of those Mike McGowan quotes. His target looked like hobo's underwear.
I'm stealing that.
There's shit all over the place.
I am stealing that.
And and then I found out he was former law enforcement because he had moved down from Kentucky, I believe it was, but he was on the scuba diving team at the sheriff's department there. So I was like, oh, so you're like the Navy SEAL of the sheriff department then. And I think he was a volunteer. I don't think he was just a volunteer dive team guy. So,
well, Timmy's bicycle ain't going to find itself.
But anyhow, I try to treat everybody the same. And it was a lot of it was that CCW class that I took with Mike, how he taught, the information he gave that made me way more interested. And I'd say 50% that 50% I looked at it as like, all right, if I'm going to carry a gun, I need to know how to responsibly use it, even though I grew up with guns and hunting and all that. And it was like a big light went off and I was like, oh, I know nothing, like literally nothing. And that's why I was like, oh, I'm going to put the sponge in here and just try to soak it all up.
So on a macro level, if every one of us that's a big time shooter person, whether you're a competitor, whether you're a qualified trainer or not, whether you're whoever you are in the gun space, if you would just make the effort to bring in 1 or 2 people from your life and from your family and from your circle, whoever they may be, just, hey man, I go to the golf course with you, and I'll tell you what, I kind of don't like it so good, but I come and I humor you because you're my buddy. Now it's your turn. You come out and let me show you what a golf course should be in the first place, which is usable range. Come on over here. Let's hang out. Let me show you my world. If everybody would do that, we'd have no political problems. It's fun. We're so afraid We're so afraid. We want it to be. This is the gravest, extreme, defensive, life-altering. Yeah, it is all that, but you know what else it is? It's fucking fun. Well, I don't know why we can't just admit it. Because I
don't know. I don't know too many people I've taken out or have been around that went for their first time and was like, I hated that.
There is no better way to bring out someone's inner redneck than letting them punch holes in paper from a far distance with an explosion.
Mm-hmm.
Or, excuse me, for the NRA certified instructors, conflagration.
That's deflagration, sir.
Deflagration, conflagration, same shit. I'm not the certified instructor anymore.
Conflagration ain't a word.
Conflagration, I think I can make it one. Hold on.
Also not allowed to say low light anymore.
You know what's great about my company? I say whatever the fuck I want to say. How about that?
Hold on.
It's diminished light.
Conflagration is a term, an extensive fire which destroys a great deal of land or property. Ooh. So it is a thing. I put the wrong emphasis on the wrong syllable.
I like it.
Can we make that the word of the day?
Sure. Maybe.
Today's show brought to you by conflagration.
Maybe. So you've been doing a little teaching. You've been doing a little AIing. You've done the bare bones NRA cert thing because insurance. For those of you playing the home game,
I am insured.
Exactly. So for those of you who don't, I love the pose. That's fucking beautiful. Those of you who don't realize this, the reason dudes have to go get this NRA certification, even if they feel that it is woefully inadequate when taught by the average training counselor who's teaching it. By the way, if you want to go see a good training counselor, go find Tim Kelly and he'll unfuck you in the ways of the NRA class. But just for what it's worth, man, the reason guys have to go get these certs is because number one, state CCW mandates them in many cases, and number two, insurance companies.
Yes.
So that being said, you've covered those bases. What outside of Veritas, what other pistol classes have you had? Where else have you gotten pistol training?
Dude,
what are you looking to do?
Not a
I don't mean that to be a got you question. If you haven't, no. I'm just trying to be like, where can we send you?
If I had all the shillings,
right?
No, I've definitely wanted to expand out. It's just been either time, money, or in this case, ammo. And we got this a little bit of time before COVID happened. We were running so many classes, and I was helping with. It was once or twice a month on the weekends. I got a full-time job, so it was usually like Sundays was an all-day class, and I got so busy, with that. But I've wanted to. I'd hoped. I'm gonna forget the name of it. A buddy of mine is going out to the big thing. In Texas?
Shooter Symposium.
There you go. He's trying to get me to go to that, and I'm like, well, if I could make it happen, I was like, that'd be pretty sweet. But
I'll tell you what, I would highly encourage that you go to that. Because especially, being relatively new to the instruction piece, right? I'm sure you've got a couple of favorite instructors, maybe even that you've been introduced to from the show that you'd like to go train with.
Oh yeah.
Getting to meet those people in person is it's kind of like a try before you buy type deal, right? There's this, it is the Sam's Club or Costco free sampling. You pay your entry fee or your membership fee to go to the symposium, and you can get time with all these different instructors and actually go meet them face to face. It's a really cool experience. I encourage everybody that hasn't been to it yet to go.
Yeah, for sure. No, if it can work out, I'd love to. Yeah, I mean, there's that's why I say I was like impressed with the caliber of people that you guys have had on, because it's guys that I followed or watched their videos. Are already like, hey, when are they coming to Florida? Oh, it's already booked out for like 2 years.
That's how it goes.
Yeah.
So fun fact, we typically get those connections because I put Kent on a corner because Gator don't play no shit. What can I tell you?
How about you say we get those connections because your partner is a budding training company who's becoming more and more respected in the industry and using those connections with his peers?
Because it goes against the bro code. I can't say anything nice about you in public.
No, that's sure. I'm on the corner. That's way more true, actually. But here's the thing, man. My biggest advice to you is to do that and to branch out, please. Like,
100%. That's why I was even talking about like, I need to just like make a trip up there.
Dude, get up here. I got your seat in class. If you can get your ass here, I'll comp you. I'd love to have you. Love to help you out.
Dude, I don't. Freaking Tuesdays are always my Mondays, but the other guy that does the instructor classes, it was maybe like a couple. But I would like to take some instructor classes, but. Yep. And it's always interesting to me just to see how other people teach.
Tom Givens is who you were referring to, is Range Master.
Yes.
He comes to Florida a couple times a year and the surrounding. He comes to Georgia. He gets down south a good bit. He's originally from Memphis, and if I'm not mistaken, he's now I think he's now living in Florida. If I'm not entirely screwed up.
He meets the age requirement.
Yeah, you need to come down to where I live.
I used to live in Florida. I know exactly.
Well, that's why I'm originally from North Florida, but we call it South Florida because that's where all the actual people from Florida live. And once you get south of Orlando, that's like the north because it's, especially now that I live in Sarasota. So the capital of old people.
Well, that's cool, though. You got your retirement planned out. But anyway, man, I just trying to be encouraging. Get out there, do what you can. A lot of us have done a lot of things to help new guys come up. Like, you would think that everybody'd be like, "Oh, I don't want another competitor." And it's like, no, good, more people, more good people, more good people. 100%. We need it. And I got to tell you,
I feel like the bad people sort of weed themselves out. And I guess I should have added this to my history. It was probably back 2007 or 8. I took my first CCW class.
Oh, let's hear about this. Yeah,
so it was at one of the state of Florida ranges. The guy did it there. And I think total time on site was maybe 45 minutes.
Oh, my God. Yeah.
And he did almost, if it wasn't for the amount of time it took, he did the actual NRA CC, because that's why I'm like, and that's why I tell all these people I start with, this is not the NRA course. Mm-hmm. Because if I did their course, the amalgamation of what you would learn is pretty much that.
Yeah.
Other than maybe like, my class usually goes between 3 and 4 hours ish, depending. Mm-hmm. But yeah, and I was like maybe 21 then, I think. And I never even like went and got my fingerprints or anything else. And it was like completely by happenstance how I ended up meeting Mike. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to go back. I'm going to get my CCW. And then just after taking his class, I was like, I'm going to start taking some shooting classes. And I took my Taurus to the first class.
Yes, sir.
And everybody's like, oh, nice gun you got there. I was like, yeah, it was $180 brand new. Mm-hmm. And then I quickly learned.
All that's just get that enter that meme where it's like the used car salesman. This baby right here, slaps hood, can fit so many malfunctions in it.
I will say, for the cheap pieces of crap I've owned, I've apparently had the good ones. I haven't had the Friday guns. One of the first rifles I had was a PSA, and it still to this day has shot the best 223 group, or best group I've shot yet. It was a .35 6-shot group. And that gun
that was .35 at 4, and 2 of them off paper is what that was.
Yeah, that's what it was. But I've lucked out in that Taurus. It's probably had 5,000 or 6,000 rounds through it before I finally got a Glock. And then it's sat there ever since.
You may be one of the few people that tells me that you put 6K through a Taurus, and I believe you. I usually hear that, and I'm like, sure you did. But I'm like, no, maybe homeboy actually did. The good thing is because you were in Florida, you were close to the warranty repair center, which is in
that.
So you're
that was part of the reason why I got it. I was like, oh, I could just drive over there. Hey guys, just throw it through their window.
Hey, it's Jordan again. My fucking got my gun. Can you? Hey, come here. Yeah, I can see that. No, I can totally see that. So,
one last thing.
Yeah,
speaking of Taurus, I don't know if my brother was just feeling nostalgic or whatever, but he finally he handed me down some. My brother's single, never been married, never been close. He's 50 now.
Never been close.
So he handed me down some of the family heirlooms. And speaking of Tauruses, this is my backup ankle gun.
Nice.
So I'm like, this will be the only Taurus I probably keep. But makes a good ankle gun.
Yeah, you know what 8-inch barreled Haas
454
mag? Oh, Raging Bull. Got it. So 454 Casull. Yeah, it's you don't even need ear protection for those, right?
It's compensated,
especially with especially with the Magna ports on it. Yeah, it's a great idea. I'm in danger.
I mean,
but yeah. So let's get back onto this long range shooting thing real quick.
Yep.
So Jordan, you've been doing this for a hot minute. I understand that you have created and started manufacturing your own shooting bags.
Yeah, I've kind of slowed down lately, but I've had like 5 friends over the past week like, hey, you're still making bags, right? And I was like, yeah, it's just too many irons in the fire, not concentrating on one at a time. But yeah, so I make the sort of, if anybody who knows what they are, the big company that makes these, I sort of based it off of that, but there's so many companies that make the same style. That's basically, I would say, about the best style of like multi-purpose bag. You can use it for everything. Anytime I go hunting, one comes with me. It basically started off as the first match I went to. I was like limited on funds, hence why I had an M&P 15. And I was like, wait, a bag cost how much? Well, I could probably teach myself to sew and make that for like $20. And I did. And then my friends were like, hey, can you make me one? I was, yes, for more than $20.
Yeah. For $60, I'll make you one.
Exactly. Because, like some of the bags I saw were like $120. And I'm like,
yeah,
I can make that.
Yeah, the prices on those things get pretty outrageous, but it's always good to see, especially novices, right? Like this, you saw a need, you're like, you know what, I can teach myself to do this, and not only will I have something that I can use, something that meets the demand that I'm trying to fill, but you learn a life skill out of it, right?
Yeah, I didn't know how to sew before.
I actually learned to sew between being taught by my grandmother. And actually, when I was in school, we had home economics, and you learned how to cook, how to clean, doing laundry the right way, but sewing. And I'm like, I'll never use this shit before. Next thing I know, rewind to like 2 or 3 years ago, I'm making my own ammo bag to throw into my range kit, right? Because pulling it out of boxes is just dumb. So yeah, it's an incredibly useful skill.
Oh yeah, and then it makes you feel really good when like you're making bags for your bros and your wife's like, hey, I've got this shirt. It's a little long.
Yeah.
Do you think? And I'm like, yeah, sure. And I'm like, what am I doing with my life?
Well, that's when you just cut it and have like, here, honey, I made you a half. I made you a crop top. It's a crop top. There you go. I'm awesome. But man, that's cool. So I'm curious about your process. So how long did it take you to ultimately take us through the learning process of that? How long?
Can I stop you real quick?
Fine.
I'm sorry. Hold on. I need to stop you because we're saying bag, and nobody on audio that can't see what he just held up has any idea what we're talking about.
Okay, so yeah, let's start with describing the
right.
bag.
All right. So what he has here is a V-shaped shooting rest that looks like one of those Caldwell lead sled kind of bags, but it's a lightweight bag that like a precision rifle shooter would use and take with him on a stage, so that you can brace and support the gun up by the mag well or wherever, so you get a little more stability on the chassis when you're shooting than that of a traditional. So we're saying shooting bag, and somebody's picturing a range bag, and that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about
So
they're a little bit different than the normal like kind of Caldwell. And since I've learned, I've kind of changed the size a little bit, changed the filling instead of it being like lead shot or sand, and it weighs a gajillion pounds. I started buying bulk like these like little plastic pellets, and it's not like super duper light, but it's not like sand heavy either.
Also waterproof.
Yes. Well, this one's one's not, but the different materials like the wax canvas.
Yeah, I can tell by the way you're handling that thing's actually got some heft to it, which I think is cool. Like from a stabilized shooting platform, the heavier you can make it, generally the better. But there's a trade-off, right? If you go heavier, it's more to lug around. Ounces equal pounds, pounds equal pain, yada, yada. But with, sand, lead shot, although lead shot, of course, is waterproof, but, sand, those types of fillings, they can get even heavier.
The first one was rice and black-eyed peas.
Which I'm sure worked great when it got wet the first time.
Well, I only used it that first match because I was like, oh, yeah, well, it's a survival situation. I can make some rice and black-eyed peas. So
yeah, it's a lunch pail as well. But yeah, going to the airsoft style plastic BBs or whatever. Yeah, dude, waterproof, lightweight, and
they're not the ones I use aren't quite. Oh, I should say the other thing I did is I had bought like chipped up memory foam from like Hobby Lobby. So I would do sort of like a mix of both because I didn't want it all pellets, so it'd be super heavy. And what I started doing was basically taking and stuffing the foam up top, so it made it kind of like a pillow. So then like your rifle actually really sank down in there to it, and it kind of gripped around. Idea. And I've kind of liked, and I've had most of the people who've used them, like the wax canvas and some of the others are like really super stiff and can take a long time to break in to where they start actually bending. So most people have kind of liked how more flexible these are.
No, that's good stuff, man. So now that we have effectively described this thing 6 ways to Sunday, take us through the process. What was it like going through the development of this product, learning how to sew it? How many times did you mess it up? Right? Take us through that journey.
There was only like 2 prototypes. I mean, I basically like got on my phone and was like, "Hey, do you happen to have a sewing machine?" "No." Hey, friend, do you have a? "Yeah, I have one. It's been in our garage for a minute. Mind if I borrow it?" So I borrowed a sewing machine, got on the old YouTubes and was like, learn how to sew. Watched a couple videos, like, okay, here we go. And I think it was my second or third one was kind of like, all right, this will work. And then because I was trying to stay so cheap, I went to the grocery store and I was like, what's big, light, and cheap? It's like rice and black-eyed peas.
No, for a starter, that's a solid.
Because I did find out that airsoft BBs can get kind of expensive.
Yeah, they can.
So that's when I found this other material, and it's still not super duper cheap. That's like still the most expensive part is the fill. But
right.
Anyway, but yeah, it wasn't that hard, and I got on to see like whose designs I could steal, but not look like I'm stealing their designs.
Not stealing, gaining inspiration from.
That's a better way of putting it. But then once like that was my first match, and as I went on, I gained some new friends, like a couple guys from the Army marksmanship unit. And those guys don't know too much, but I was able to pick their brain and like, hey, what do you look for in a bag? And so my buddy Scott gave me some ideas, like, well, even like the bags are made. One of the main ways they're used is like the plywood type barricade, so that you can literally just throw that on there and it stays.
Yeah, that
and it gives you something to shoot. Well, off of other barricades and stuff, this was literally just like September. He's like, oh yeah, if you haven't figured this out yet, like if it's a wider, you can throw it upside down, and it obviously gives you like a longer place to put it. And the more crap you have under the handguard, the more stable it's going to be. And I was like, that's just, something so simple that actually makes like a huge difference if you're shooting off of something that's kind of wobbly and you're trying to hit something at 700 or 800 yards. Every little bit counts.
Those AMU guys, what do they know, right?
Yeah, that's like the only helpful thing I think I could say. That and
Daniel Horner, who?
I sort of already knew this, but I don't think a lot of people really take it that serious. Is like torque everything to proper torque specs. Like a half turn pass tight is, it works for some people, but and having a friend with a gun shop here in town, like with the stuff that like basically have to break out the torch to break loose. And I was like, yeah, those stripping screws on scope rings. Like, who put this in? Oh, Bubba at the other shop. It's like,
yeah.
So, so it's a teachable moment here. Folks, if you don't know what the torque specs are for a particular scope mount or scope or anything else you might have purchased, call the manufacturer. Right?
Google's a big help too.
Google is a big help, but I'll tell you, depending on where they source their screws and bolts and nuts from,
that too.
That might be something like their Bubba that works in the back room at the warehouse, like probably has this stuff committed to memory. As a matter of fact, I did that with one of my recent ride-on scope purchases. When I put the new 6-24 on my Grendel, on my 6.5 Grendel, I did not see what the torque specs were because the mount that I got with it was a relatively new mount. It was one of the Contessa mounts.
They're supposed to touch on each side, right?
Something like that, yeah. But so Contessa, very high end, machined steel and machined aluminum, mounts and bases. Fantastic product, but coming from Italy, they apparently don't believe in like publishing torque specs in their manuals, and this is when they first started dealing with Contessa.
Baba Ganoush.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, there you go. No, seriously, I called the guys. Yeah, I called the guys at Right On. I was like, hey, look, what's the torque specs for this? Because I want to make sure I do it right. And 10 seconds on the phone. Oh, yeah, 18 inch-pounds on this and 20 inch-pounds on that. You're good. Like, you sure? He goes, yeah, that's it. And, come to find out, dude was dead right.
Yeah, a good rule
documentation.
Good rule of thumb with any of your scope mounts is the actual ring mounts. 15 to 18, maybe 20 max. And it's crazy. It doesn't feel like that's really going to stay on there and hold. But yeah, from a few different scope manufacturer guys or reps that I've known, 80% of all of their warranty issues is always people over torquing their rings. Just is what it is. When I grew up as a kid with my little 22, it was, they got to both be just evenly touching at the same time. And, who knows? And all
Have you ever lapped scope rings?
I haven't went that far yet.
Okay. Why can't I adjust the scope?
Yeah.
Because you've got pipe clamps on it. it's a rifle scope, not a muffler. So yeah.
I
But,
think
you know-
maybe if I was going into the ELR type stuff, I would probably go like super to make sure everything's right angles. But I feel like for most of what I do, like it's probably not going to affect it that much, but it's still a good thing to do.
Yeah, no, just I'm curious. I'm teaching for SDI, and one of the courses I'm teaching talks about ring lapping a good bit. And
And a lot of that is like, is it a wish mount, or is it, if it's a Badger C1? If I'm dropping over
right.
$3 on a mount, I'm
Right.
gonna hope the tolerances are gonna be pretty good already. But
Right.
but you still check everything. Anybody can send something out of spec, no matter who they are.
Well, the first part, this is interesting because the first part of the lapping process is installing alignment bars.
Yes.
No reason in the world not to at least install the alignment bars and check that shit.
Yeah.
And this is the thing that I knew that I thought other people knew, and people didn't. People were like, "Rawr."
Yeah.
I'm
So for those
Yeah.
playing the
Yeah.
home game, alignment bars when mounting a scope is two arguably precision pieces of bar stuff. Well, it's what they've been I mean, I've got precision 1, 2, 3 blocks on my workbench from knife making. I can guarantee them bitches have been dropped more than once. They're probably not so precise anymore. But the idea being is that the two bars are pointed to a conical shape on either end. You put the 2 points facing inward towards each other, and you can check the alignment of your scope rings that way. It's incredibly important to use those, or make sure your gunsmith uses those when you're mounting up, like say, a hunting rifle with the Leopold turnstile rings and bases. Incredibly important. One piece bases and rings. I don't know if the alignment tool is all that necessary, but it's a good habit to get into.
just one more thing, right? People don't know
Yeah.
this.
Muy importante.
Hey, Baba Ganoush, you put in the bar line up, you go. You don't line up, you know the roll. Anyway,
But yeah,
you're so racist.
I am not. I have an uncle Baba Ganoush who is a loving member of my family, and he makes pasta primavera. Leave me alone.
No, and anybody like,
I love how he's just gonna drive on like I didn't say pasta primavera. That's fucking.
nah,
That's professional. That's
You're like, nope, not
no,
touching it.
spaghetti carbonara all day. No, on the long range stuff too is like, after I learned just like this much, my definition of long range changed. Because for me growing up, like I had maybe shot like 200 yards like half a dozen or 8 times just because of something I didn't really do. And I thought like, 300 yards, that's crazy. And then after just learning just a tiny little bit, I was like, oh, well, that's nothing. Like, that's easy. And then now, like, even like 1,000's far, but I'm even to the point I almost consider like quantified performance stuff medium long range stuff. It's like once you get past 1,000, that's when it gets weird with smaller calibers anyway, unless you do the crazy AR-10 builds and whatnot with all the crazy chain rings they have.
Yeah, it's funny, right? Because my definition of long range is 50 yards on a pistol bay, right? Like I'm so this is why. So you asked why I want to have you come on, right? I love talking to people who know things about things that I don't know as much about, and long range shooting is one of those deals where, like, Cam gets on here and he spins the fucking blackboard around. And he starts doing beautiful mind stuff, and he's like, yeah, well, that's not going to hit the trans zone until here. And I'm like, I thought the trans zone was like, never mind. But like, man,
that's covered at CampHayesUniversity.com.
Right. But my point is, like, the level of knowledge it takes to line up a dot on a pistol and press the trigger straight to the rear and don't fuck nothing up. You'll probably hit what you're trying to hit. Okay, there's a lot of kinesthetic alignment stuff and a lot of physical work that goes into that. There's a ton of mental work that goes into shooting a rifle at any level of accuracy at the distances that we're talking about. I mean, You pay your friend nice compliments.
Yes.
About his rifle.
And no.
Sure there is. You don't have to read no win. Like, come on.
It's not like, I would say up to like the 400 or 500-ish. Like, I was surprised. Like, I thought there was just like all this stuff to it, but it's not much more than like once you know, oh, I need to know the velocity of my bullet. And after you got that, it's all partially in here. But yeah, there's so many like ballistic solvers now and free apps that help a lot. That doesn't do all the work, but it helps.
Yeah, if you can solve for the X and Y, so my velocity, my altitude, the pressure, the environment, the climate environment, right? You can pretty much put that stuff into a computer and it'll do it for you. Now, with that being said, that's where I find the interest in long range shooting over the pistol shooting. Again, going back to the people, like the guy that owns the range I go to shoot longer range holds a world record for the tightest shot group at a mile with a round he invented. Now, before
the 6 Cheetah?
No.
Oh, different guy. Okay, sorry.
It's a different guy. This guy, before you could shoot on the long rifle range, you had to go through one of his courses in ballistics and the art of long range shooting, right? In those 4 hours, my eyes crossed and glazed over and realized that this guy has forgotten more shit about long range shooting than I will ever learn.
Yeah,
right. Yeah. Like this guy is doing ballistic. Like we talk about plugging things into a computer, and yes, it's a benefit, especially for your hobbyist shooter. But these guys have turned it into an art form. Like he's doing ballistic calculations and trigonometry in his head on the fly. And he would go around the room saying, "Hey, what are you shooting? Do you know what your velocity is? Okay, well, it should be about this. What's the length of your barrel? Right? Okay, yeah, you're going to have like an 18-inch drop at 500 yards. Do you own one of those? Right? No. Well, if you take into account the G1 ballistic profile, by okay, whoa, hold up, you have memorized the ballistic profile or the ballistic coefficient for these caliber bullet? Yeah. Oh my god. Like seriously?
Is that the G1 or the G7?
Yeah, exactly. Oh, he could tell you both. Yeah, the dude could quote ballistics like a preacher quoting you chapter and verse from the Bible.
The people who have forgotten more than you'll ever learn, that's the type of people I like hanging out with.
So man. I was told you were one of those guys. So do the thing.
Definitely
Come on, do the thing.
Not me. Manja.
So what are you using for your ballistic? Are you using Straylock or are you using what ballistic app are you using?
Slam right there.
Okay.
I do. Well, I'll tell you my first match, literally the Friday night before we shot, I was like, so, hey, Ash, what was that app you told us about in the Straylock? Oh, yeah, I'll just put this in. Like, now knowing what I was like, half of the, crap in, crap out.
Yeah.
It was all crap. Like, the only thing that saved me the first match was just me not knowing. And I bought a nice scope that had a BDC in it, and I learned a little bit about how those worked. So I was like, all right, I need to change my ammo. And, I made hits. I think 500 was the furthest I hit at that match. But that day, that was the farthest I'd ever shot in my whole life. So I was like, if I can do it, a caveman can.
Okay.
Speaking of which, if you go to Geico and enter in Hayes, you can save 15%
on your trailer insurance. Hey, 50% on your trailer insurance. So, you're running. Are you running Cam's rifle cartridge as your primary long range gun, or what are you using?
This match will be the first test.
This will be the first test. Okay. So you've been loading your own ammo for this.
Yep. This is my first match shooting his caliber and my first match that's going to be all my hand loads. So I'm nervous about that.
What have you gotten for results so far?
Yeah, everything's been great. it's grouped really well. The only thing new that I sort of had suggested to him was I bought I think it was because it was what was on sale, Sierra Match King, 95 grain Sierra Match Kings, and that was one of the few that he hadn't tested. And I shot them. They grouped really well. Velocity was good on the low, no pressure signs. They're not super duper hot. Like I don't have to worry about blowing my face off. And yeah, so I'm excited. And I don't, one of the things I figured out was wasting a lot of time dialing the turrets. And one of the cool things with his round is at the speed I have it at now, super low pressure, still not even getting close to anything super scary. At 1,000 is dead nuts, 10 mils.
Come on.
Yeah,
that's damned impressive.
Wow.
And with how it works out, I can use the rest of the scope almost like a BDC. Give one, maybe 2 tenths. Like I believe it's from 500 to 800. The only math I need to do is like, that target's at 700. If you just subtract 2 to whatever the first number is, that's your hold. So if it's 700, 7 minus 2 is 5. If I put it in Straylock, it's like 5 or maybe 5.1 mils is my hold. So the whole way out, it just works out like stupid easy math. So at 500, it's like 3.1 mils. Yeah, because that's what I shot the other day. 500 is 3.1, so 600 is like 4 mils dead nuts. So it's like you really don't even have to do a ton of calculating because he said he designed it that way, but I think he just kind of got lucky that it worked out.
Yeah.
But anyway, it's comparable to that other crappy Hornady round that came out last year.
The substandard peasant round.
Yeah. But
no, I get you.
But no, it's been great. I just I told everybody's like, well, why would you be nervous about running your hand loads are way better? I was like, yeah, but if it messes up, it's my fault and I have nobody to blame.
Exactly. So we actually are getting some questions from the chat. Zach Cox has joined us. Welcome, Zach. So Zach, his first question is, what does a normal match include? So why don't you kind of take us through? Obviously, we're talking about rifle matches here. So what are you looking at for like a typical round count? What kind of equipment do you typically like to bring with you?
So before the first thing I was told before I ever went was like whether I had a bipod, bring gun, ammo, a good piece of glass, and bring a bag. A bag was highly suggested, but not completely necessary. But every single person at any of these gas gun, PRS, everybody has a bag because it's like the most. I feel like I would take a bag over a bipod any day.
Mm-hmm.
I think the last match I ran a bipod on one stage, and it was because it was a prone, and I used my regular bag as a rear bag. Normal match now for COVID, we kind of cut it down like the last match, it being a 1 day. To shoot it completely clean was 90 rounds. I think I shot maybe 120 rounds-ish, maybe give or take a little bit less. This one, they're cutting it down a little bit more since it's 2 days. They're trying to make it completely clean, 150 rounds. Before COVID ammo stuff, it was always still around like 200-ish sometimes, depending, is what I would bring.
So what's your general rule of thumb? Because I've heard everything from, bring 1.5 times the ammo required. If it's
that's about right. Yeah. If it's 100 rounds, I would probably bring 150, to shoot at the match, not counting whatever I did to if I showed up to confirm 0 or if I was still trying to get, last minute data or whatnot, but I would have at least, if you can afford it 2 times, more is never going to hurt. And,
Yeah, that was always my rule. So for shooting 3-gun matches, it was always 2 times, right? Because well, in 3-gun, it's a completely different arena. You've got a lot of what we like to call hoser stages, where you're shooting target with rifle, maybe out to 75 yards, maybe probably 50 yards and closer, and those are typically pretty high round counts, and you're probably going to throw a lot. Or make up a lot of shots. So if you get one outside of the scoreable surface area, you want to make sure you get it in that 10 ring or whatever have you. Always go two times. But yeah, with the COVID, I think 1.5 times is a solid number. That's at least what I would recommend. It's nice to hear you echo that. He also asks,
I carry cases of ammo to matches.
Yeah.
Fuck that shit. There's 1,000 rounds of rifle ammo in the truck right now. Of course, it's not $2 a round match ammo for cheetahs.
Yeah, and that was a big thing to learn, like especially growing up as a kid. It'd be like, oh, can just give me a box of blah blah blah. Thanks, sir. And then actually, like my dad did not know until a couple years when I got in all this. I was like talked about grains on the box. He's like, yeah. that's how much powder's in it. And I was like, nah, dog. That's the burret. That's the burret.
It really makes you like raise an eyebrow to those guys where they come in and they're like, I've been shooting since I was born. My daddy taught me everything I know. Really? I'll tell you what, you pay attention for the first hour. And if you don't think it's going anywhere,
you
feel free to leave.
Side note, that's one of the big things that for me was a learning experience, and then also using in my classes to teach that not all the people you think know either what they're talking about or know how to use a gun, how to use a gun.
Yeah, well, I mean, they're
military, police.
Yeah, that's what always boggles my mind when I'm talking to, fellow shooters, guys that are on the receiving end of the instruction. They're like, oh, well, I was in the military, I was law enforcement. I was like, dude, hold up first. Or they won't go train with that particular instructor because they don't have a Leo or MIL background. I'm like, hold up, dude, listen, that's a great enabler, but do not use it as like don't let it ruin the whole scoring or qualification of that instructor. Right.
No, and that's what I always feel like that's the first question. Like, oh, so you're not X or Y or Z? And I'm like, no, I'm just a guy that, tried to learn a lot. And the guys I learned from were, but luckily they knew what they were talking about. Like right. Even I've helped him with the Florida Class G license. So it's like armed security license. Yep. And dude, wow. The people taking those classes, then I'm like, you carry a gun for your job. And wow, somebody pays you to do that? And this is the one time this year you're shooting?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
My security contractor company like to come in here and do a little qualification. So we're going to need to rent a range for about 11 minutes.
Like the amount of people I've seen come into there that their draw is a little bit kind of one of these. And then
the bowling ball.
I'm like, why are you shaking so bad?
Yeah, you've got the bowlers and then you've got the fishermen.
Yeah.
Right? Like they're trying to pose for a Charlie's Angels intro. So
anyway,
Zach also asked,
I digress.
MILs or MOA and why? He picked up that you speak in MILs. So maybe we could focus on the why. Why'd you go to MILs?
I don't really have a good reason. I know it's kind of one of those tomato. I don't know. For me, MILs are more simple. It's smaller numbers instead of like, oh, I need to dial 26 MOA. And yeah, I don't really have a very good sounding highfalutin educational answer to that. Just for me, it's more simple, and everybody else I know talks in MILs. Like,
Fair enough.
I guess, I don't really have a good, to each their own. Just to me, it mills, I don't know, just makes a little bit more sense than a minute of angle.
A minute of angle is 1.07326495111-347 inches. So there's that.
Oh, you knew that.
Precisely.
Perfect. Or 1 mil at 100 yards is 3.6 inches. So
yeah,
it's because Kent stayed at a Holiday Inn Express last night.
that's not a real number, by the way. I don't know shit after the one. I just know that there is shit after the one, and like nobody knows that.
No kid, I thought you were going for like the square root of pi. Like, it was like, what do you do? Oh, he's doing an MOA joke. Okay, got it. I'm tracking. I'm picking up what you're putting down.
There you go.
But cool.
Yeah.
So
I had to interject on these because we're doing last week was all the awesome quotes. I have one that I have applied to a few people a few times. I'm trying to think of how somebody I know was getting their first firearm and got their permit, all that good stuff. What do I need to buy? What do I need to buy? They asked me about budget, and I was like, well, you picked literally the worst time in history to try to find a gun to buy, and second, spend a reasonable price on it. And the person's significant other gave them a very strict price cap, and I'm like, yeah, you're not going to find anything for like the $250 or $300 you want to spend right now. Like, at the very least, don't get the first gun that I got, the awesome Taurus G2C that, just because I lived close to the dealership. But so I brought this up to my mentor, Mike McGowan. He said, tell him this next time. I shouldn't care more about your life than you do. I was like, ooh, I like that.
That's a great one. That's a good one.
I told him that. I was like, so what you're saying is your life is worth a Taurus G2C, not the extra couple $100 to get a Glock or something that at least has a track record of a good percentage of them going full auto or, malfunctioning.
That might be a feature. I think my favorite in this whole thing is like, man, let me ask you a question. If you rolled into the dealership and you were buying a truck and homeboy told you, hey, listen, this is a nice brand new truck and it's half the price of the other trucks. I don't know which one it is, but I'm pretty sure one of them fucking airbags don't work. You want it?
Or it may or may not work. We don't know.
Yeah, I don't know.
But in the other way I explained it too was like, okay, I said, let's look at it like this. This is going to be your carry gun. Let's say you carry it for 10 years, even just 10 years. So let's say we're financing the $500 or $600 it's going to take to get you set up with one over 10 years. Now, the $300 you want to spend, let's finance that. So we're talking about chump change or pennies or, $1 extra a month to have this over the other one. So in like the long scheme of things, it's not that much more money. But yeah, that's just the one that always kills me. And that's why I had to bring out the revolver too. That's my favorite people from class.
Yeah,
I was told revolvers are better because they don't jam. That's always my favorite.
Which is interesting. It's funny,
easier to use.
It's funny you mentioned that. I think it was We Like Shooting. I want to say it was the We Like Shooting guys. They just did a review on a revolver. I can't remember which model it was. It was in a pretty big bore caliber. I want to say either a 44 mag or maybe a 500. It might have even been a 460 or a 500, but it wasn't a Smith & Wesson. I know that. But sure enough, they were shooting it, and the damn thing jammed.
They do that.
I was like, holy shit, a revolver jammed on video. Like, they've got evidence of this.
Caleb Giddings
Nice.
has a video about revolvers jamming.
No, that's one of my favorite ones. Which I'm sure you guys have probably had more people reach out, especially over the past year. I've had more like old friends that either have seen my social media or whatnot that just like I haven't talked to them in forever. Hey, you know about guns, right? It's like a little bit.
I am certified.
I am certified though. But so yeah, I'm wanting to get a gun. What do you think I should get? I'm like, oh, I was like, I tell everybody, a good starting place is like a Glock 19, depending on what you're wanting to do, whatever. If you got maybe a bit more cash or depending, whatever, maybe a SIG or whatever. It's like, just don't go super duper cheap. You don't need a yeet cannon. Go a couple steps above that. And it's like, well, I was talking to my uncle and I was like, wait, he told you to get a revolver because they don't jam and they're easier to use. See the little bubble typing. Did you talk to my uncle? He's like, nope. He's like, that's literally word for word what he told me. I said, I know, because that's what they all say.
Your uncle is pretty much all of our uncles. That's just how it is.
Yeah.
So I did the math.
Uncles or husbands with wife.
In case you're wondering, I did the math. So over 10 years, a Glock 19 cost you $4.1 a month. And over 10 years, a Taurus G2C costs you $2.5 a month.
There you go.
There you go. So, like, not even a whole cup of coffee a month.
Skip one round of Starbucks, and you can have a Glock instead of a Taurus.
And of course, that assumes that you actually make it 10 years, and we haven't even factored in the statistical probability of you living a whole 10 years if you have a Tauri or any of the various Tauruses. So I'm putting that number, significantly worse. Just saying. No, but you make a good point. Amortize the cost over the next how many years you're going to use the tool, and what does it really cost?
I mean, that's kind of the way I looked at it. I was like, well, if this is my CCW gun, like I'm probably going to keep it a long time.
Yeah.
So,
or I'm going to sprinkle some crack on a dude and shoot him with it and leave it lay there and keep on moving. Either way.
So you took
the Sling'N podcast does not advocate violence.
You ain't the only one been to Hayes University, pal.
That's what I was about to hit on.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I know some stuff. Crack sprinkling. I went to the crack sprinkling POI. There's a 2-day, 16-hour crack sprinkling.
The views and opinions expressed by one or some of the members participating in this podcast do not reflect the views and opinions of all of us.
Yeah. No. So real quick, man, listen, dude, we've been on here for an hour and a half already, and in some ways I feel like we haven't even cracked the surface.
I agree.
So more than anything else, man, I really appreciate your time. Thank you so much for jumping on here.
No, I still don't know why you guys wanted me to come on, but I'm honored.
I mean, let's be honest. We had nobody. There was literally no other human on planet. No, man, because Cam said you were a good dude, and you are a good dude. So now you're here.
Bless his heart.
He only says nice things about a very select few people. So keep that in mind. But,
he always gets really excited when you jump in on the chat, too.
He really does. He really, really does.
Yeah, we've done I sat in a hunting stand with him a month and a half ago or so. We shared one of those really nice sausage gravy MREs. It was quite a date.
I'm starting to detect a bit of a Deadpool / Colossus love affair going on, maybe?
Ish.
No, it's all good, man. It's all good. But yeah, seriously, we are very glad you came on the show. Like Ken said, we're definitely going to have you back, man, because I know we're just scratching the surface here. But definitely going to have you back. We're certainly interested in hearing about any updates for how your upcoming matches go. So keep us posted on that.
Yeah, if I do as good as I did the last time, I'll be super happy. I think I've done 4 of that quantified performance matches. The very first one I ever did, I think there was 80 people. I came in 50th, so I wasn't last. So goal number 1 met. I was like, if I do a little bit better next time, I'll be happy. And I placed 50th again, but there was like 100 people. So I was almost dead middle. And then this last time I placed like 23rd overall and 5th in my division. And I was like, how did that happen? I was like, everybody else really sucked. I still don't believe when they called my name, I was like filming because I'm like, oh yeah, like the top 5 or 10 people I usually film when they call their name. And so I'm just sitting there and like, hey, and then Ash called my name and I was like,
am I being punked?
So
like
I got to just turn the camera on myself and was like, yo.
That's awesome, man.
So go ahead, Kent.
All right, real quick. You got to plug yourself because we haven't got your social plugs and stuff like that. You got to get those out. So where can people find you?
Facebook, Instagram. I think it's all just my name JordanSpradley. I haven't created socials for my bag stuff yet. I just, life. But you can hit me up if you on any of my socials. I need to get that going so at least somebody has somewhere to hit me up or make a Gmail anyway. That's the easiest way to find me. Join Quantified Performance. It's a little more expensive than you got. There's a free Facebook page to go on, but there's a members only page, and it's a little bit more than what you guys charge. It's $1 a month. You can pay it per month or pay it all at once, but it gets
Can we finance that?
Yes.
Over 10 years.
Over 10 years.
Patreon, $1 per month. And that gets you in the members group. And there's the AMU guys, of which I speak of, are in there. And it's a lot of like-minded people like us that just share data and whatnot. And I think that like we talked about going to these events, people are usually like at least 50% of why I go, because it's really good people. Man, when COVID started, that was kind of like a warm, fuzzy moment. Like so many people just started, hey, is everybody good? Does anybody need? This is where I live. If there's anybody close that needs anything, I was like, there's still good people left in the world.
Yeah, most of them are in the shooting sports.
I guess sort of shoot for Title II manufacturing as well as CAM. So if you need any Cerakotes, gun built, do a little bit of knife stuff too here and there. Yeah.
And you're the newest sponsored shooter of the Sling'N Lead podcast, which means you have to send us bags and we'll shoot them. I don't know how that helps you at all, but
I continue to. Well, you can use them to shoot your guns with. I did have a friend that I gave it to him. Quantified performance match he came up to. I think it was a second or third stage, and apparently, if you set the gun on the bag like this.
Oh no.
Muzzle brake plus shooting bag equals catastrophe.
The best part was I had the GoPro going on the 240 frames a second. So I have this nice, cool slow-mo of my first bag disintegrating and filling, just going. Whoa.
And it's kidney beans and shit, so you could eat it.
Well, this was the plastic pellets, and I was just like,
yeah, but I bet you got some. I bet the arterial spread of that plastic filling was spectacular.
I was like, this is your brain. This is your brain if it's next to a muzzle brake.
Poof.
Yeah, that'll do it, man. So we're going to put you on the spot. We're going to ask you to pick a charity.
Oh, fart. This was the thing I forgot to do.
Did you just say all fart, bro?
Yeah.
Hey, we got to get ready for syndication. We'll accept it. Fart.
This was the one thing I looked up. I have books ready already.
Okay, well, give us a book. Maybe it'll.
I'll just do this because I know it's a local one and they're good. SRQ Vets. SRQ Vets. That's the only one I can think of right now. God, I knew I forgot something. I know everybody like usually does like super gun or really cool authors of gun stuff, but I've had a hankering to go back and redo the whole Stephen King Dark Tower series.
My favorite books ever. I have a sleeve tattoo dedicated to it.
Yep, it dude, it was great. Like, and the audiobooks were so great. And still until what was his name? Was it Stephen Muller? Frank Muller, I believe, the guy that narrated 1 through 4, and then he got like a motorcycle accident and lost the ability to speak. He was like the best like audiobook narrator. Anyway,
yeah, he did a great job. But yeah, fantastic books.
I'd like to hear Stephen King narrated by Gilbert Godfrey.
I was going to attempt the.
I've got the opening line from book 1 going through my head as the voice of Iago from Aladdin right now. It's boring
and
through
the
my
man in black.
Fled across the desert and the gunslinger followed.
The man in black fled across the desert and the gunslinger followed. Like that?
That is now permanently etched into my brain. Thank you, Kent. All right,
wait. I do have to ask, if you're such a fan as well, what'd you think of the movie?
Oh,
hold on.
Stay
That's a
tuned
loaded
for the
question.
next hour and a half. Of
No. I can give a short answer. So there's a reason for it. So one, bottom line, I thought the movie, with respect to the book, like Hollywood often does the Stephen King books, was absolute garbage. However, for entertainment value, I thought Idris Elba and I thought Matthew McConaughey as Walter was really, really good. The acting in it was good. If you look at it as like a sci-fi spinoff, it's certainly entertaining. I have to say that because I'm also a movie buff. I love movies, and I think the movie as itself, standalone, is good. But like all things Hollywood does to Stephen King, they bent him over the pinball machine like George Lucas did.
Dude, I followed it for so long through the Ron Howard phase was going to do stuff, and then HBO was going to do like how they did with what you call it. Anyway, they were going to do a long series. I like followed it for like I don't know how long. There were all these iterations. I was just like, I wanted, if I remember, it's been a while. In the gunslinger, like when the kid or whatever stabs him in the leg, and he talks about blowing his head off as he gets stabbed in the leg. I was like, I wanted that end crazy scene in a movie form so bad.
Yeah,
but
it's
anyway.
If they would have addressed that movie the same way, with the same fervor and passion that they addressed the It films. Because the recreation of It, the chapter 1 and chapter 2, the new versions are phenomenal, right? Why is it like every other Stephen King movie is absolute shit? I don't understand that paradox. But either way, it's worth the watch on Prime or Netflix, if that summarizes it for you. But it is not a replication of the books. But with that being said, guys,
hold on.
No,
Last quote. I did write this one down because I like this one too. Practice doesn't make perfect. You guys know this one?
Perfect practice makes perfect.
Yeah, I always like that one because
I say that shit all the time.
Yeah.
So real quick,
I have more stuff that I didn't get into that we'll save for next time.
Hold on, real quick. The man who shoots with his eyes has forgotten the face of his father. You must shoot with your
stop. No, stop. I can't take that one. No, you can't butcher that one. That's the best part of the whole series. Leave that one alone, Kent. It's sacred ground.
What's the actual quote? The man who shoots with his eyes has forgotten the face of his father. Shoot from your heart or something.
Yeah, it's a long thing. We'll carry it over into chapter 2 of this.
He's definitely not part of the quartet.
Right.
No,
you got to be in the quartet. So with that being said, teespring.com/J-Sprad-certified is the shirt tonight, inspired by Jordan Spradley. Head on over to teespring.com and check that out. Proceeds from the sales of that shirt will go to SRQ Vets, which is Jordan's charity of choice. Jordan, once again, thank you very much for coming onto the show. We really appreciate
thank you guys.
To steal Kent's line, one of the most precious commodities that any one of us can give these days is time, and you have certainly given us 90 minutes of yours, and we truly appreciate you for it. Kent, why don't you take us home with the ad read, buddy?
Yeah, man. So listen, we can't keep bringing you this super expensive content, which is free, without you guys helping us do that a little bit. So the main way that you can do that is to go to www.greenmountaindefense.com/affiliate-links and spend some money, right? Rather than asking you to go to a Patreon or something like that, I'd rather you get something for your money. So if you need gun stuff, you're going to buy it anyway, you might as well buy it in such a way that it helps support us. So all those providers, such as Primary Arms, who's nice enough to send out these hats and stuff,
who also happen to have bolt carrier groups in stock last week.
There you go.
Primary Arms.
See that shit? So get out there, support those sources that help support us. We really appreciate them. There's a whole list, greenmountaindefense.com/affiliate-links. If you're just hearing the show for the first time, we can be found on YouTube live most Tuesdays, damn near every Tuesday at 9:30 Eastern. And we can be found Apple, Spreaker, Stitcher, Podbeam, Spotify, all those cool podcatcher apps. If you're wanting to hear us, we got 68 other episodes of really awesome content. Some famous firearms instructors and some guys who are going to soon be famous firearms instructors, like the gentleman we have on here. We're just going to turn his ass into one.
God, I forgot to get this in there too.
What?
It really meant a lot, it being 69, that you brought me on for 69. Like,
that's probably the dirtiest thing ever said on this podcast.
Because I would have thought this would have been Cam's episode, but if he wasn't off doing army things, we should have just made it a double 69, him and me on here.
Second dirtiest thing said on this podcast.
First of all, that hurts my head. Second of all, when I think of Cam, I don't think of 69. I think missionary for some reason. I really want that eye contact.
He's a passionate lover.
He's a passionate and very giving lover. So that was the middle of my ad read, which means I fucked up the ad read entirely. Green Mountain Defense. No, it's cool. greenmountaindefense.com/training is where you can find training for me. Support the other training companies that help support this show. So listen, Modern Samurai Project, Tim Heron Shooting, Apache Solutions, Vigor Training, Evolution Training Solutions. There's Vigor Training. Hey, wearing my competitor's shirt. Oh no. We're all friends, just to let you know. Go there, train with those guys. Get down to North Carolina, train with Apache. Get up to Ohio, train with Gunset. Get down to Nolans and train with Noltec. We're starting to have had somebody from every freaking corner and state of this country on this show that's worth a damn. So if you're hearing this and you're over there in freaking, the other side of the country and you're like, yeah, but I don't want to go to Pennsylvania. Well, fine. Then find one of my buddies and get out there and get on the range. I'm tired of hearing the excuses. Listen, guys, we'll be back at it next week with Dave Jenkins from Lions Pride Training Group. He's going to be on here talking about shooting people with handguns 10 rounds at a time because of New York. That's what we got going on with that. And I'm just going to say one little thing before I get off the show, which is today, my student in her 50s, a private student who had an engagement with me, who's brand new to the culture, brand new to this whole deal, showed up and she's like, hey, I got this med kit you told me to buy. Can you show me what's in here? And what our 2-hour private turned into a Stop the Bleed class this morning, which was effing awesome, right? So the last thing I'm going to tell you is if you're not carrying and training medical, you're messed up. So please hit up Kerry Davis, Dark Angel Medical. Go find that stuff because it's very important. We want you to be here for another day, a week, month, a year. We want another birthday. So
I mean, at least catch the next episode of the podcast.
Yeah,
you got to outlast that Taurus.
Yeah, exactly. You got to outlast the Taurus. Listen, thank you so much, Jordan. I really appreciate you coming on here. You did great for your first time. I know you're a little nervous, but you're the TV commercial man, so you can do this shit ad hoc, right? I really appreciate your time, effort, and energy. You did a great job, and I would encourage you to keep it up on that. The path that you're on, teaching and stuff like that. Don't ever stop. Just keep pushing. If I could do anything to help you, please let me know.
If anything, like watching your series, I was like, man, I definitely haven't been dry firing like I should. So, well.
Yeah, there you go. I see it. I see it. That's it. Yeah.
And dry firing works great for the long range stuff too. I've got a barricade in my garage.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Well, good job. Appreciate your help. I think we're out of here until we see each other again. Get out and shoot, something like that.
Yeah, that's it for this week, folks. Thank you all. Until we see each other again, take care of each other. God bless you, and get out and shoot.
Bye, everybody.
Peace out.